yeah, maybe we could just take a quick look at the landing page, and then we could look at
Sure, sure.
some stuff here. So your state is predictable. Your model holds your entire application state, and I think that is evident from the dev tools here. Like this model, I guess, is the model for the whole state of your um, like marketing page, I'll call it, or the website in general.
Hmm.
Um, so side effects are values you return from updates, not imperative calls buried in handlers. Commands describe what should happen. The runtime handles when and how. So I guess like in Foldkit, the idea is to make, since you're using effect as like the first class way to model things, the idea is to model effects as like first class citizens as part of
Hmm.
like an update to like it's almost like a state transition, like an update to your state, your model.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. It's like I think it's slightly different. Like the updates of the model are just pure like um, you have a message come in, you have your model, and you figure out what the next model is.
Mhm.
Commands are a way to, given a message that has come in, tell the runtime, go do something. And when you're done, send back a message to the update function.
Mhm.
I
And then
see.
that's processed. Yeah.
And
So it's a
commands
way to kind of like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mattia.
and commands are something that happens like a side effect has after an initial message has come in. So after an initial message comes in, you can like update your model and set like a loading flag to true, and then return both the update for the model and also like an effect that when completed will trigger again the
Yes.
update with setting back the is loading to false while also providing the loaded data, right?
Yep. Yep. Okay.
That's,
So we've got our counter application. Feel free to chime in with questions. So every Foldkit has this basic structure. You have your model. Here it's just a schema struct with a count, which is a number. We have some messages. These are these are events that can update the model. And then we have our update function. So this is where the transitions actually happen. So decrement, -1, increment, +1, reset, 0.
And
None of these, yep.
the little m method that
Yep.
is up there, that's something coming from Foldkit. And how is there a way to make m type safe over the model, or is it already?
Type safe over the model. Oh, I see. Like, do we need to make sure that all of these are handled?
Well, like when you like for example, when you open up like a new m
Yeah.
parentheses thingy, do you get autocomplete for the tag that you need to?
So you mean like,
And is there a way to get autocomplete for the tag? I guess is another question.
so like you're saying if I do this.
The string tag, for example, like clicked foo.
Oh,
that's,
this.
I
Yeah,
think that's the
actually,
definition, right?
yeah.
That's the definition point. So it's where you define that, right? You're basically
Yes.
having a shortcut to
Oh.
define a structure with a tag, and the value of the tag is just clicked
Yeah.
foo, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
a shortcut for behind the scene, maybe a schema tag struct or something like that, right?
Exactly.
I
Yep.
get it. So
And that's
this
where
has
you
nothing to
define the
do.
message.
So this forgive my like naivety, but
No, this is great.
like
This is great.
this is like how you. It has nothing to do with the model specifically, the structure of
Correct.
the model.
Messages are facts about what happens.
Can you when you define a message, can it also have data that comes along with it, or is the message always just a
Yes.
pure tag?
Yeah. So if we pull up, let's pull up the weather examples, look at something concrete, and go to our message.
There you go.
So updated zip code input comes with a string.
Got
So
it.
someone types, every time they type, this message goes through the model. We get a string, and then somewhere here we handle, now the zip code is whatever the value is.
Cool. Makes
And
sense to me.
And now it comes the question, is that something special? Is that just a shorthand to define your own tags, or does M behind the scene do something special that, like, for example, give you utilities or something like that that will be useful later on, just to understand the overall architecture?
Good question. So the main thing is that it gives you a callable constructor, so that in here I can just call clicked decrement, and then I could also, if this carried like a payload, I could do, you know, like whatever the payload is, instead of having to do like a make.
It's basically a shorthand for the .make, which is really nice to see in the code. It makes it more clear and more like readable.
So another thing you'll notice is that no commands are returned for any of these, because they're just pure model updates. Like, we don't need to go tell the runtime to go do something after we've clicked decrement. So just continuing through this is the initial state of the program. Count is 0, no commands at start, and then this is the view. So you create H given HTML, which comes from Foldkit, which is parameterized over the message type that this view can dispatch. So like if I tried to just do like h.onClick, something that wasn't actually part of the message union, it wouldn't let me. And that's it. That's the counter. And when we run it, we can look in DevTools, as we saw earlier, and we can see we're at 3 now. We go back, count was 2. If we go back again, count was 1, and then this was an it.
Yeah, I love this, that you could just like scrub through the state changes and like sort of see like if something went wrong, like why it went wrong, and like very clearly understand. So in the message tab here,
make it bigger.
Yeah, exactly. For the people, for the blind audience members. For the message tab, is it always just going to have like I assume it would show like the payload and everything like that if there was one?
Yeah. So let's graduate. Let's look at the weather example.
Somebody in the audience said that it reminds me of the Redux dev tools.
Makes sense. Okay, so we got the weather. Let's open this. And let's look at the messages. So all of these carry a payload, as I was typing. And then succeeded fetch weather carries a payload of the actual weather data. This one's more interesting because this actually has a command. So maybe we should look at that next. I'm actually going to go to the code.
It is interesting to show off people also like how the command like fits back into the update loop, because I imagine out there are folks that probably are not familiar with how the Helm architecture works, and even like the Helm architecture has been like copied. Let's say that's not the right word, by Redux, but Redux didn't like fully implemented all the feature that Helm has, and so I imagine that maybe wasting a couple of minutes in here explaining why the comments do not the update doesn't just return the model, but also like other stuff, and why it's useful, and see how that integrates could be interesting.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through it. So weather example, let's look at the messages. So these are all the things that can update the model or dispatch commands in the program. Updated zip code input, submitted weather form, succeeded fetch weather, or failed fetch weather. This is where those transitions are handled. So we looked at this one, super simple. Zip code input is now the value that was typed. Submitted weather form, we transition the weather to weather loading. So this is like a algebraic data type.
And evo is basically an utility function to update partial of the object. if I get that correctly.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like instead of doing model, like weather is weather loading, we have evo, which I think just makes this nicer to read and less prone to error.
Does Evo handle nested updates as well, or is it like intended to be like evolve the model for every level?
Yeah, so you could do like if there was something that was nested, you'd just be able to do like another Evo
Gotcha.
here. And the way that you typically see that is like point free instead of having like, the like you could do it that way.
Right.
And then whatever your update is, but this is, I think, kind of nice.
Yeah.
And that's where also like you can use, I could imagine that you can even write your own update that doesn't use Evo. You can use your pure function. You can maybe use immer or whatever just to create a new copy of the model with the update fields or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's just a function. Yeah. And I think that's like part of the philosophy is like if it can just be a function, it should just be a function that enables you to compose however you see fit. Yeah.
Nice.
So this is the command. So when this happens, like messages, remember facts about what happened, when submitted weather form, fetch weather. So fetch weather, if we go to definition, is a command. This is very different from, I think, how like you typically would think about side effects as something that you just call. This is a basically an effect with some data attached, like with some labeling and some constraints about how that can feed back into your update function. And like, I think it's easy to see this as like too much or like boilerplate, but it's actually like super powerful and useful, especially if you're reading this for the first time and you don't like know a code base, because you can just read this is a command that can only return these two messages. So like I know that this is only going to come back into my update function through these channels. And then this is just an effect. And we have our services here. And if we go look at this, like anyone familiar with effects will be able to understand this.